I hope this thing records because I have no idea how this works. And
Yeah, it is. Okay.
is it recording?
Yeah, it is.
Remove guest. Okay, let's see.
Trying to
I
edit.
think there should be an option to just like pull it into my stream after this. So let's see. Okay, so after like 1,000 failed attempts and a curse that we are trying to break of our second session with you, I think finally we have somehow managed to do this. And one of the main reasons why we didn't want to go properly live with this is because so many issues have been happening again and again and again. We didn't want to waste anybody's time because last time, we like
Yeah,
had a whole
yeah,
technical issue for like a whole half an hour, and then a lot of people obviously were like, people do set aside time for these things, and we didn't want to waste anybody's time today. So we just like thought we'll do it live, and if anybody's joining, they can join, and otherwise we'll just like pull it down to the recorded sessions, and they can access it. And then maybe if this works properly, then we can do an actual live session going forward in the future. So
yeah.
yeah. All right. So today's session will basically just focus on the application process. I know the EMREE season is like coming to a close or has come to a close. I'm not very sure. And then the application fever is starting, and everybody
Yeah.
is like worried about how to apply and what's the process and how to do this and that and everything. So I feel like it is a bit delayed, and we really wanted to do this session much earlier, but it
Exactly.
has been
Unfortunately.
really difficult to for some reason to bring this session live. But since we're here, let's talk about the application process. So I've been getting a lot of questions, and I really feel like my information is very outdated for two reasons. One is because my memory doesn't serve me so well. It's been like close to 5 years since I went through this. And second of all, which is a more important thing, is that it's been way lots of things have changed since that. So because so many things have changed, I think my information is completely outdated, and that's why your input as like more newly joined resident will be much more up to date and helpful for everybody who's applying right now. Okay, so shall we start?
Yes, let's begin.
So for those of our viewers who doesn't know Mariam personally, the last time we spoke to her, she was applying for residency, and then she was trying for general surgery in Dubai. But like I feel like everything that happens to everybody happens for a reason, and I think
Definitely.
Mariam would agree. And then now she is an R1 urology resident in Abu Dhabi. So first of all, let me start with a big congratulations for that. And I
Thank
know
you
you're
so
like a little
much.
bit deep into your journey now, and you're no longer like a new resident, but still, like big congratulations and
Thank you so much.
job well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Meharish. And
uh,
you know that like you've been there since the beginning. You've seen me from the clueless person to where I am now. So thank you so much. It means a lot
of
coming
course,
from you.
definitely. Okay, so let's dive straight in. First,
Yeah.
what I would like you to talk about is just the application process overview. So let's say you have given the MRE and you've gotten your result, you're waiting for your result. So what's next? So like, what are the next steps that you went through in terms of the application process to get to the interview? So that's what we'll talk about today.
Right. So, to those of the people who've made it to this stage, again, I just want to say, like, amazing. Kudos to you all to to reach here. I know it's been really hectic. So, inshallah, it will all work out for the best. So, those of you who've reached here, so I think, like you mentioned, the EMREE cycle. I think all of the exams are almost over, and
Mm-hmm.
the applications have begun. So, to give an overview, so Feb March is when the applications they start opening.
Mm-hmm.
So when I applied, I so in the UAE residency program is basically divided into three, or you can say it four now. There's been a transition. It's still in the
Right.
transition period. It started last year actually. So basically, the UAE residency program is divided into three. So
Mm-hmm.
there is Dubai residency, there is Abu Dhabi, and then there is the other Emirates. So Dubai is now further divided into public and private sectors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I mentioned four.
Mm-hmm.
So each of these, so I had applied to all 4 of these. So each of these have got separate opening date and ending date.
Mm-hmm.
And almost all of the basic requirements are the same, with some health authorities requiring 1 or 2 things more or 1 or 2 things less. So in Dubai, it is again divided into public and private. I think last year it was called MBRU and DRTP.
Mm-hmm.
DRTP being the private and MBRU being the
Right.
government.
Is the government sectors, yes.
Government, yeah. Uh, I'm not sure if that is what is exactly called this year, because I also hear the name DAHC being used. So I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah, so I will clarify that point before we
yeah,
go forward. So in Dubai, what's happening is everything was DHA in the beginning, as most people will be more familiar with that abbreviation, DHA, which is Dubai Health Authority.
yeah.
So DHA has kind of turned into DAHC. I think that will be the simpler way to explain it.
Okay.
Not to say that the term or the authority of the DHA doesn't exist anymore. So DHA
Hmm.
does exist, just that under DHA, they have divided DHA into 2 units. So one will be the ones that control all the hospitals and licensing and execution of all of the, hospital policies and across Dubai. And then they have the DAHC, which is more of the academic version, which
Hmm.
runs the government hospitals, the MBRU, and the medical education, along with the other residency programs that are currently now in what do you call it, in Dubai itself, the private residencies. So
Right.
it's like DHA, then you have DAHC under DHA, and then under DAHC, you have DRTP and the MBRU residency.
MBRU. Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
MBRU, again, like you mentioned, being the government residencies and the government hospitals, and the DRTP being the private residencies and private
Private
hospitals.
hospitals.
Yeah.
Right. So that covers Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
Then for Abu Dhabi, it's called as DOH, Department of Health Abu Dhabi, under which hospitals under Abu Dhabi, the Emirates of Abu Dhabi comes under DOH, and EHS covers the rest of the Emirates. So it will
Right.
be like Sharjah and
Mm-hmm.
Al Quwain and all those, Fujairah, and clinics and hospitals coming under these areas.
Right.
So this is an overview about the residency in UAE as such, and like I mentioned, more or less around the same time the applications open, the requirements are more or less the
Mm-hmm.
same about the documents that we have to submit,
Mm-hmm.
and the processes that we have to go through. So starting with the applications, the basic things that all of these health authorities require is
Mm-hmm.
obviously your MBBS, your certificate, your
Yeah.
MBBS certificate. That is the first and foremost, the very important document. Then you will need your internship certificate. That is internship. If you are in the internship period, then you will get another certificate stating that so and so candidate is in the internship and is predicted to finish
Mm-hmm.
on so and so date, because obviously
Mm-hmm.
you can only begin residency
Get the
once you
completion,
finish.
yeah.
Yes, once you finish internship. And the third document is your mark list or your transcript. So this
Mm-hmm.
is where you begin with, and obviously your EMREE result, with
Yeah.
which only it is valid to apply. So now talking about, so everything revolves around these 3 documents, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to have these 3 with you to begin your application.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Talking about each of the health authorities in particular, almost all of them require something called as attestation. Now, this is
Okay.
for foreign medical graduates like myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was a foreign medical graduate from India. So the reason why this is so important is because this is one of the process which is time consuming, and something that is, additionally required for
Yeah.
foreign medical graduates.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is something that we all have to be aware of. I think all of the people who are watching this video is very familiar with Dr. Meharish's stories. I myself took those as my guide. And so the steps for attestation are the same. So just to break it down, there are basically 4 steps that we have to
Mm-hmm.
attest. So you will start it from Ministry of External Affairs. So this again is for people who have graduated in India. I know
Mm-hmm.
there will be people abroad, like maybe from Georgia also, who are applying. Unfortunately, I don't have
Exactly. Yeah.
enough information for that. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking is in regards to India and even Pakistan. Like I've had friends in Pakistan as well. We applied together. So this will
Mm-hmm.
apply for
Similar
these
processes
two
are there in
places,
Pakistan as well,
similar
right? Yeah.
process.
Mm-hmm.
So the you will begin with applying the first step of attestation is from the Ministry of External Affairs. So
Right.
for India, that is in New Delhi. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then the UAE embassy in India.
Mm-hmm.
Then is the MOFA. MOFA stands for Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Foreign affairs, right?
And finally, the equivalency attestation. So
Mm-hmm.
this step has not changed. It's been standard. Like Meharish was my guide, and this is what I went through as well. One thing I will tell you though is that I did not do any of these things by myself, in the
Yeah.
sense that I handed it over to a company which would do the work. The company that I went for was a first step corporate services. They're based in Dubai. They're a
Mm-hmm.
business consultancy firm, so they will do all such paperworks. And there are
Mm-hmm.
other agencies as well. I think you used Eurogulf, was
I
it?
used Durable, yes, yeah.
You used Eurogulf. They're still there, and I think there are many new places.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of attestation services because it's a very common thing for,
Common
migration
thing now.
from, medical professionals from India and places like that here. It's very common. So I'm pretty sure there are a lot of
There are a
this.
lot of
Yeah.
exactly. So one advantage is that because I didn't know much about this, what you can do is you can literally hand over your documents to them, and they will get
Mhm.
everything done. Like the first
Yes.
step to the last step, they will do it. So all of the steps that I mentioned, the external affairs, the MOFA, the embassy, once you give it to them, they are the ones who will take care of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
for each of the step, obviously there's a charge for each of the document.
Yeah.
So if for people who want to know the charge breakdown, they do charge around 600 to 700 per document,
Per document. Mm-hmm.
per document. And here is again one important point that I have to mention. So if someone like me, I graduated from Kerala, and Mehrish as well, and over there the transcript is not such a common thing.
Yes.
We would get individual mark lists. So year one, year two, year three, year four. So the issue is that we have four mark lists, and these are counted as separate documents.
Four separate documents, exactly.
First,
Yeah. That's
exactly.
something I want to bring
Now
out. Yeah.
imagine you have to attest your
The
internship certificate,
MBBS
your
certificate.
MBBS certificate, and four additional. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an additional charge. So what you can do is request your college or your university to give you something called a transcript. This is very common elsewhere. I don't know, I have not heard of Kerala college giving it out yet, I'm not sure. So you can just request your college or your university to make a transcript for you. That is basically amalgamating all of your
Exactly.
mark
Into a single
lists
document.
into a single document. So
Mm-hmm.
the benefit is that it becomes a single document, and it's easy to attest it then. So
Yeah.
just these are like tips and tricks that we might not think in the beginning, that I learned
Exactly.
from Mehrish. So make sure that you get all of this sorted. So where were we? Yeah. So we will now hand it over to the agency, or I think there are people who do it by themselves step by step. Unfortunately, I have no expertise in that area to guide people. I
Yeah.
think it's done online or in person, but it can be time consuming. And if we are
Yeah.
not aware of these things, then we will lose time. And let me tell you, time is of the essence in application. I know
I
people
agree completely.
personally who have missed out the deadlines because of these documentation, and it's quite sad.
Mhm.
So we don't want that to happen. We want to finish everything before the deadline.
Right.
So this step that I told you about, this attestation, is required for all of the health authorities, be it
Mm-hmm.
Dubai, EHS, DOH. They will all ask you for your attested documents, right?
Right.
Now, something that I faced that was very new. In fact, it started the year that I applied last year in Dubai, particularly for MBRU, is something called as ECE. I'm sure the people who are applying this
Yeah.
year is familiar with that, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a source of panic and terror for us applying last year.
Yeah, I
So
think
this,
that was one of the things that didn't exist at the time when I was applying.
yeah,
So
I remember
I
I came
understand the
running to
terror
you,
of.
and you were like, "What is this?"
Exactly.
You had
Because
no
I
idea.
don't, I really understand the terror of going through something which you don't have a guide on. Because all of these attestation processes and the transcript, everything, all of these I figured out by myself. And one of the reasons why I put it
Exactly.
out there is, so people who come after me has like they have a better guide on how to do it. So like when you said like there is another step, I was like, oh my god, as if all of this wasn't enough. Like they had
Enough.
to add one more to like panic, all of us. So this is one of the biggest reasons why we even wanted this session, is because whenever there is something all over new like this, it's very difficult for people who are navigating it by themselves to figure it out, especially in such a small time constraint. So, like for example,
Exactly.
this step where you didn't, not many people know that, or I mean, I did not wasn't very aware of the fact that you can get a transcript till I went through the process and I knew, like, this 4 separate documents and all of that. So knowing that ahead, you can plan ahead.
Exactly,
So
because you knew that. I knew it. I didn't take any extra
exactly,
effort from my side. I did not freak out because of that. So exactly, talking
exactly.
about this
So
will make things easier for new
yeah,
things.
so this is the one that we want to talk in like detail about. So like walk us
Detail
through
up.
the whole thing from start to end.
Right.
So what is
So
EC to begin with?
ECE, it's a acronym. It stands for External Credential Evaluation.
Okay.
Basically, in simple terms, it is just once again, this applies only for foreign medical graduates. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So this right. So this is just it's just to standardize your score and your
Hmm.
degree to international standards.
Yeah.
That is it. So you
Okay.
graduated from outside the country. They just want to make sure that your marks, your GPA, your certificate is up to par with the
Hmm.
international standards. That is what
Yeah.
it is. Okay. So they are based in USA.
Hmm.
Okay. uh, what we have to do is, it's basically verification. I'm sure people know about Dataflow. It's something similar to that, but it's
Okay.
not the same.
Right.
You have to do Dataflow separate and EC separate for MBRU. If you do EC, it's not like it will be counted as Dataflow. I had to do both. So just for the ease of understanding, it is like Dataflow in the sense that it's verification. So what you do is, again, once you go onto their website, there's
Hmm.
a website for them, ece.org, I believe.
Is
So
this
you just
website available on the application page, or you have to figure it out by yourself?
so in the MBRU website, how I knew about the ECE is because I literally started filling out the application form. I had all
Uh-huh.
of my documents ready,
Right.
everything was tested. One fine day, I sit down and I start to apply for
Mm-hmm.
my MBRU, and I see this brand new thing with a star next to it. So
Mm-hmm.
star means it's mandatory to upload.
Yeah.
So imagine I'm seeing this word for the first time in my life. It's mandatory. So I started from scratch. I don't recall if there was a link or not. I had to
Mm-hmm.
Google. We had to ask around. There was a lot of. Anyways,
Confusion. Yeah.
the website is. I'm not sure if there's been a change in the format of application this year, but
Mhm.
the website is the easiest thing. The finding the website is the easiest thing in this process.
Okay. Okay. Great.
So it's, I think, I believe the website is called as ec.org. So you will go on there, and wo- so like I said, they're based in USA. So
Uh-huh.
once you want to apply, you'll have to choose the country of origin from. Country of origin means where you got your degree from,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are different packages, like for undergraduate, postgraduate. You have to like select the appropriate one. So there is an option for like the medical degree that you
Mm-hmm.
have to choose, and once you choose that, they will ask you for your country.
Okay.
So whatever I say from this point onwards, obviously it's only pertinent to India because
Yeah.
that's the thing that I've done. Once you select your country of origin, they will ask you to upload. Um, they will ask you about these documents, same
Okay.
documents, these three. Which three? The MBBS certificate, internship certificate, and
Internship and the
transcript. Like I
transcript.
said, this is
Right.
the core around which everything revolves.
Mm-hmm.
So there were two options. One was to send an e copy, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be something that has to be mailed from your university,
Mm-hmm.
okay, from the university that you're affiliated to. This
Okay.
is one option. Okay, this is
Okay.
again India. The second option is to send the original documents enveloped and packed to USA through courier service like FedEx or
Okay.
whatever. Due to some complications from the university for myself, um, some communication error and delay from their side, I did not opt for the first option.
Right.
Okay.
You chose to
um,
send to the US.
yes, I chose to
Okay.
send my original documents to the US. Okay.
How scary was that in a scale of 1 to
Imagine
10?
those are my original documents. This is the only proof that
Yeah,
I
I
have that
can
I'm a
imagine.
doctor. So this is what
Hmm.
I did, because like really it was the last straw I had, because like I said, time is of the essence, and I could not get through to my university because but I do know some colleges are already like they're autonomous or they themselves are university, but unfortunately
Hmm.
my college is affiliated under a university,
Yeah,
so it
yeah,
had
same. As most
complications.
colleges in Kerala are. Yeah, yeah.
Kerala are like that, so it was a little complicated. So I had to send it, and I chose FedEx for this option. So for people
Hmm.
who are in the who will be in the same boat as me, I chose FedEx, and Alhamdulillah, I have all my documents with me now, so it's secure.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a charge that obviously you have to pay. I think
Hmm.
they charge you in dollars. It was something around $300, but again, like I mentioned, because time was of the essence, and this was a thing that we had never heard of, I chose the fast track service, which cost me an additional $75 to $80.
Right.
So the cost breakdown of this is like around $450. So with
Hmm.
this I sent all my documents, and because I chose the fast track service, the you have to read everything in the website. It's written fast track service means 3 to 5 business days they will return back with the report.
Right.
So
Hmm.
EC is nothing, it's literally a paper with 3 4 lines written in it. It's a report. Okay,
Okay.
it will
So what does
actually
the
give.
report actually say? Like, what
Yeah,
does it?
the report reads your GPA basically. So
Okay.
ECE will convert everything that you've had into a
Hmm.
GPA. So the most
Okay.
important document in this is obviously your transcript, but
Hmm.
everything, your details like your name, where you graduated from, will all be part of the report. That's why you have to send the other documents as well.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so EC is like a point.
Hmm.
So EC is like a GPA point. So
Hmm.
when you get your report, it will be a printed paper with your name, your details, and you will see a thing called as EC point.
Hmm.
Okay, with a
Yeah.
number on it.
Okay.
So this is what EC is, and that covers everything about ECE actually. So I think this year it's not a new thing, so majority of the people will be aware, but the only complication is the sending to the USA part, if
Right.
people who are sending it. So this was like my journey, my experience with it. People
Hmm.
who can send from university, I think it will be a better option. It has to be some secured electronic, it's a complicated thing as well, but
Right.
um
But that
so
option
this is.
exists for those who want to pursue it. At least there is like an option to.
There is an option.
Right. I
It
think
changes from
maybe
country to country, but there
exactly.
are these two options for India. I think for other countries there are different options.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. So now you have your in the whole process you have your documents attested, and now you have your ECE, which is like
Mm.
basically another document that you have. So what's next after this for the application process?
So after this, you basically go onto the site, and for all of the sites, like they will announce, when the applications will start, when it
Right.
will close. So it's pretty straightforward from there. You will click the tab to start the application. You will enter all your personal details, including your everything. They might even ask for your birth certificates. I think it was EHS which asked me for my birth certificate. There was a place which
Mm-hmm.
asked me for my vaccine records. So all these
Mm-hmm.
things are basic. That's why I did not mention it. These are the things that we will all have with us
Right.
for sure. But attestation is required for these three documents, and
Okay.
you will upload the attested version of all this. And these are very
So
tiny
you didn't
details.
need your birth certificate attested, is it?
No, no, no. I did
Okay.
not. I did not need
It was
my
not a
birth certificate.
requirement. Okay, great.
No, it was not a requirement. These
Okay.
three documents are the ones that is required. And yeah, so it's some other tiny things that you can remember is that sometimes your whatever you're uploading might not go through. It might show an error. Don't worry, it might be because you exceeded the size limit. So again,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
compress,
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
of
it's a
course.
very stressful time, you might not understand what's going wrong. So
Yeah, and it's a long application from what I
it's a
understand.
long
Like
application,
seven,
yeah.
8 pages long nowadays.
Yes, it's very
Yeah.
long. It never
Hmm.
ends. We'll click next, 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 and so
Yeah.
another thing is data flow. So data flow, I
Yeah.
think existed when you applied as well, right? The PSV.
Data flow, actually, it did exist, but this is again something that I want to clarify because I feel like things have changed now. For me, the data flow was only requested from me after, what do you call it, after
Yeah.
acceptance, more or less. So I'm not sure where it falls in the timeline now. Like, are you required to do it prior to acceptance or like after acceptance? Like, how does it happen now?
Right. So majority of the healthcare sectors, they required the data flow report prior.
Right.
So Dubai requested it, DOH requested it as well, and even
Okay.
EHS.
Okay.
Now the issue is that data flow, again, for those who do not know what data flow is, it's called as primary source verification, basically verifying that your documents are real and you're
And
not
legit,
like a
yeah.
fake doctor. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is the thing. So you will take your documents, again the 3 documents,
Mm-hmm.
and what you do is you go onto their site. It's called PSV. You go onto their site and you can choose
Mm-hmm.
packages,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you will choose packages depending on how many certificates you have to upload. So some
Okay.
people they upload their license as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some people, they get their license verified as well if they've had a license in their home country,
Right. Mm-hmm.
because they do it. But personally, for me, I did these 3 documents only.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a license in my home country, but I did not
You didn't
put it
choose to,
through
yeah, get
PSV.
that.
Okay.
I think that's
uh,
mostly done for people who are applying for a GP license because
GP license
PSV is
as
the
well.
same for all over healthcare. PSV is the same if you're applying for a job or a residencies. But if you're
Yeah.
applying for a job, then a license is mandatory. You need to have be licensed in your home country, to and you need experience post that most of the time to be eligible for a GP. So I think that's why the license option still exists in PSV. But
Exists.
for
And it
residency, again,
freaks
I don't think
people
it's
out.
required.
Yeah, and it freaks
Mm.
people out, and they do it for the, so that they
Yeah.
don't miss out. I did not do it, I remember. I just did for these 3 of
Mm-hmm.
the documents. So now the issue is that data flow is, there are different data flows for different. So there's one for DHA. Okay, there's a
Okay.
data flow for DHA. Then there's
And
a
another
data flow
one.
for DOH.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Mhm.
because the DHA data flow that you do is not accepted in DOH. Okay,
Right,
and
right.
vice versa. But for
Mm-hmm.
EHS, that is the other Emirates, you can go by with the DHA data flow.
Okay.
Okay, so again, when you start with data flow application,
Mhm.
you will go to the website, you will choose the package that you want,
Uh-huh.
right? So it costs around 1,000 dirhams plus tax.
Okay.
This is for 3 documents. Again,
Right.
prices will go up and down,
Yeah.
not down. These 3 are the minimum you have to do
Right.
PSV for these
Mm-hmm.
3 documents. So now you will put this through data flow. Now,
Mm-hmm.
personally, for me, this was the most time consuming and difficult process of it all.
The data
It
flow.
took, yeah, data flow, because it again, but this is all done online. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what happens is data flow is like a mediator between the university and the source verification team.
Yeah.
So
I remember
what
that.
they
Mm-hmm.
basically do is they will upload. What we have to do from our side is upload these documents onto the
Mm-hmm.
website, scanned
Mm-hmm.
copies, and what actually happens is the source verification team will try to contact, give a call, or try to contact the university that you've graduated from.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens. So
Yeah.
any delay is because of the communication,
University's
lack of
communication back. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
communication that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So because of this reason, I really suffered a lot with my data flow. For me, it took more than a month. It took
Oh.
more
Okay.
than a month, like
Wow.
actually more than a month. But
Mm-hmm.
I started this whole thing, I think, in February or March, and that's the only reason I got it before the deadline. But it took a
Okay.
lot of time.
So this
So
is probably the most time-consuming step that everybody has to plan ahead for. Is
ahead
probably the
of,
PSC.
and if you have any if you're having good communication with your university, make use of it. For me, again, that
Yeah.
was difficult because I was here and my
Right.
university was there, so there was
Mm-hmm.
some problems there as well. So make sure that you communicate to your university and urge them to, because they will get the prompt for this, like we are
Mm-hmm.
doing so and so for this candidate, can you get
Mm-hmm.
back to us? So make sure this is out of the way. So like I was saying, data flow, if you do the DHA data flow, it's a package. So first you will choose under which health authority you want to do. So I
Right.
did under DHA first.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me around 1 month to come. It did come eventually, but not in time for when I was applying for EHS, the deadline closed before
Okay.
the data flow came in. But many such people face such consequences.
Issues, right.
So
Mm.
last year they were kind enough to reply to us and tell us that it's okay, you can upload the receipt of the data flow with the
Uh-huh.
reference number instead.
Okay. As
Okay,
a
like at
as a
least as a
yeah.
proof that
Mm-hmm.
we've done it.
Okay, great.
So that is what I did,
Mm-hmm.
and alhamdulillah my application was accepted as well.
Okay, great.
So I'm not sure if it's a thing this year, if they
Yeah.
if they've
I mean, it's
changed
always
it.
better, they do understand all of these limitations that we face in terms of, delays and stuff. But it's better not to expect these things and then just be prepared ahead of time. And if it happens,
Exactly.
if there is a delay and then they give you this leniency, then that's great. But then better not to assume that, this
Assume
could be
that they
able
will.
to do.
Exactly. I just did this out of desperation. Like I said, I was completely thrown off. This was something that I did not expect.
Yeah,
So again, like once you know all this, you will know what to expect. So
right.
just make sure of this. And I'm just telling, this
Mm-hmm.
worked for me. So I was able to make do with the receipt for EHS, but for
Mm-hmm.
DHA, I was able to upload. Now comes DOH,
Mm-hmm.
that is the Abu Dhabi Health Authority. So they require a separate data flow.
Okay.
So the DHA one won't work there. But there's an
Mm-hmm.
option for internal conversion, which takes
Okay.
lesser time.
Okay.
Okay, so again, you will go on to the Dataflow PSV
Mm-hmm.
website and you have an option for conversion.
Okay.
So basically, what you do is you will enter your reference number of the
Mm-hmm.
DHA data flow that you used, and they will ask you, okay, to which one do you want to convert it to? And then you will select that. You will
Right.
re-upload your documents again. And it took
Okay.
for me, I don't remember the exact time, but it did take maybe 1 or 2 weeks. It was done.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right, so this is about data flow. Just keep in mind that DHA and DOH needs separate ones.
Right.
um, EHS, it worked with the DHA data flow. I do hear from some people this year that they require something called as MOH. I'm not sure if things have changed this year again. So like I've mentioned in all of the previous videos and stories, like every year you have to read up
Yeah.
on what
I
changed,
completely agree.
because
Yeah.
things change every year.
Mm-hmm.
So what worked for me is just a basic outline and might have changed this year. So always make sure and keep sending mails. I was i was devoted to sending mails day and night. I would communicate non-stop,
Follow up, follow up, follow up.
follow up, follow up,
Yeah.
follow up.
It's good
And
practice for
alhamdulillah,
when you're a resident because a lot of your
yes.
job involves like following up with is the result ready? Can you please take the patient to
Oh
CT?
my
Sister, did
god,
you draw the
yes.
blood? So it's good practice.
It's good practice. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. Absolutely right.
I think it's training you
So
for residency, seeing, like if you're a good, if you follow up really
if
well,
we
then
follow
that's like,
up,
okay,
we
fine.
will
So
see
this
how
person is,
sincere you are.
yeah.
Yep. So this was so I think we've covered almost till the end of application, and
Okay.
this is about the documentation.
Right.
I'm sure, like so something I'll mention another thing, marriage, because this is something that I get most frequently asked. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so um, all of the health authorities have got cutoffs for application.
Okay.
So
I mean the
and
score
points
cutoffs for
and
MBRU, you
score,
mean?
yeah, score cutoffs for EMREE and like for GPA. So let me talk
Ah,
about it.
okay.
So it's
Okay.
like so as you know, in the MBRU website, they've given everything clearly. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's very transparent, like, so they will give you what all you have to put in your CV, how they evaluate your CV, how you're going to get chosen for
Mm-hmm.
the MMIs, and then for the specialty interviews. All the criterias are out there for you to see.
That's great. Yeah.
So, one of the things that I get asked often is that does our college marks matter? Does our college GPA
Mm.
matter?
Mm.
Right? So it's yes and no, but mostly
Mm-hmm.
yes. Why? Because in MBRU,
Mm-hmm.
the selection criteria, until last year, the year I applied was, so they take how they select you for the initial interview
Mm-hmm.
is that, so 100%. So how they select you is like 40% of your selection, the chance 40% of the chances that you're going to get selected for MMI is based on your EMREE scores. Okay, so that's a huge chunk,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The next 40%, which people might not have realized until application, is your GPA, college GPA,
GPA. Mm-hmm.
which is like not changeable at this point. I mean,
Exactly. You
right?
need to work for it. Yeah.
Work for it. And so 40 makes 80, and the remaining 20 of the chances that you get selected is based on your CV, for which
CV.
they've given clear points.
Mm-hmm.
CV evaluation points they've given
Right.
in their website. So in this, so if you ask me, does GPA matter? How much do I need to get in order to get a spot in residency? In MBRU, I will not be able to say,
Mm-hmm.
because I can just say that the higher your marks, the more your chances.
So there is
Because,
no clear minimum. So they've not said that okay, fine, if your GPA is below this, then you're automatically disqualified. That doesn't
yeah,
exist.
now this is for MBRU, but
Yeah.
for DOH, they've set a clear criteria,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
So for DOH, it's like you will get GPA 3 or
Mm-hmm.
above, or you cannot apply even.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this was until last year, and this was a new criteria last year. So imagine,
Okay.
it was a new
Mm.
criteria last year. It did not exist up until the year before. uh,
Mm-hmm.
all of the things I'm saying is pertinent to foreign medical graduates. Okay, so
Yeah.
this GPA of 3 and above is a criteria for foreign medical graduates, and an EMREE score of 75% or above. So look, what DOH has done is that they've clearly specified, look, we need this,
Yeah. If you
and you
don't
can
have it, don't
apply.
bother applying and wasting your
Yeah,
time
if
and
you
your
don't have it, you cannot apply. Your
yeah.
application will be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for MBRU, it's vague.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's understood that more your college scores, more your chances. Because a big
Exactly. Yeah.
chunk of you, getting into interview depends on your
GPA.
GPA. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people ask me this, and
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so this is something that you have to think about before applying,
Yeah.
because application, one, it's not an easy thing, and it's not a very cheap thing as well. It takes
Exactly.
money.
Yeah.
It is time consuming and expensive.
So the thing that I want to actually just mention here is, well, it's mostly for the candidates, who are like from back home, because we know that in Kerala and India mostly, it's like after you finish your MBBS, then the chances of you matching into a residency or a post graduation program is like purely based on NEET or entrance examinations, unless you're going the other way and getting into like a management seat or something like that. But
Yeah,
anything that is merit based or scholarship based or ranking based, it's purely dependent on that single NEET exam or single entrance exam that you
yeah,
face. And
yeah.
so it's a it's a very common practice, in at least in our places, that just like get by during your MBBS, is like somehow make it till the end. Score doesn't
Exactly.
matter, as long as you
Just
pass. If you
pass.
score, yeah, if you have like 100% or just 60 pass percent, it doesn't matter, because in the end, what's going to decide your future specialty is just if you work hard for that 1 year, or that that one single exam.
Very
So a lot
true.
of people don't really know that when you actually think about moving outside the country, then this actually becomes a big deal, GPA, because everywhere else in the world the system is
Yeah,
different. GPA
different.
matters because they're looking at your consistency as like as a student and as a learner. If you're just like one of those persons who are just getting by every day, then they don't want you, because that means that you're not gonna consistent work, and being consistent is very important in like any residency
In
programs, to make
residency.
sure
Yes.
that, yeah. So a lot of people don't know this, and by the time they start thinking about going abroad, it's already too late, because your scores are there, it's already set in stone, you cannot go back and repeat it. So if anybody who is here today who's watching, and and if you're watching in a very like early stage in your path in medical career, like if you're a first year or a second year, or even like somewhere in your college, just be aware that like just study hard and make your keep your scores high, because it's also kind of disappointing, because I know that I was one of those people who used to study hard for each exam, and then in the end I used to wonder, like, what is the point of, like, scoring so high when, like, in the end it's not going to make a difference. But for those of you all who are studying very hard and, like, I mean, of course, gaining the knowledge and getting
That
that is like
will take you. You might plan to stay there, but what if you have to migrate elsewhere?
exactly. So, I mean, always, like, you never, as a doctor, it's especially, you're never supposed to study just for the sake of cracking an exam. You're always supposed to study for the knowledge. But even then, like, you always wonder, like, is all of this really worth it if you're going to be judged at par with the people who didn't, work that hard at one point? But just know that working hard is going to get you somewhere. Like, it's going to push you a few steps ahead. So always work hard, always stay consistent in studying, and always, like, try to score really high, because it's at some point it's going to matter. So, like, don't let
Exactly.
don't like let it bring you down, that, oh, there's no point in studying, I just need to pass and
Ex-
get by. That's really not true. So if you're at a point of time in your career to change that way of thinking, then this is the time to start doing it, definitely.
Definitely. That's an amazing point. It's so true. It's very true, especially in residency here.
Yeah, especially like when you're applying for something abroad, GPA and consistency really, really does
Really, man.
matter. So, yeah. Okay. So I think that's like more or less the main steps. So you have the attestation, you have the ECE, you have the PSV, and then, of course, the application and the small nuances of the differences between the application. So a
Yeah.
few things that if I have been getting questions about, and I want to clarify as well, is were you asked to get a NORKA during your attestation for
This.
the process?
Oh no. I remember I saw it in your story,
Yeah.
and you had done that additional step, but
Mm-hmm.
I it was not asked from me, and I did not do it.
Okay, all right.
Uh,
Because again, this is a question that I've been getting asked, and then for me, they asked me to do it. So NORKA is, I think it's a very Kerala specific thing. It's like a the Kerala attestation kind of thingy. I'm really not sure if it exists for other states. So I guess if it isn't there right now, we don't really have to talk much in detail about it. But just know that, like, just clarify with your attestation service if it's needed. Because if it's needed, then what I know is, if you need to get the NORKA done, then you need to submit the documents to the center personally. So you cannot send the documents through someone. So I remember when they asked me to have it done, I had to actually go, because I was in Dubai at that time. And fortunately, I had to go back to India. So I had gone down to India with my documents. I went myself to submit the documents, and they don't get that attestation of NORKA done unless either you personally go, or it has to be, it's very
oh,
weird, but it has to be like a blood relative. So it's like,
yeah.
yeah, your mom or your dad or something, and they have to have like some kind of letter from you saying, giving them authority to do it. So it's a very weird and tedious procedure.
Hmm.
So if they're asking you to do it, just ensure that it's actually something that really needs to be done. Because even what I have heard nowadays is not really required. But a lot of people are still asking me, like, should I do it? Because they're getting information from other people, I think. But check with your attestation
Probably.
services,
Yeah,
because they're
please
the best
check
guide.
if, again, like, you never know what can happen in the gap of 1 year.
Yeah,
It was not required from me, and like you said, you made a very good point because this requires us traveling. So if you know about it
exactly.
earlier, the better.
You can
So
get it done and then travel, get
yeah,
avoid the unnecessary traveling back and forth, because already, like, you're spending so much of money and everything. At least, like, some places you can save like a bit money here and
exactly.
there. So I did, like, as I had mentioned earlier, I did use Eurogulf. Which service did you say again that you were using?
I went with First Step Corporate Services. They're based in
Okay,
Dubai.
right. How was your
So
experience with them?
Oh, they were amazing. Like literally, I was so worry free because
Mm-hmm.
they come to pick your documents as well. So there's no
Amazing.
hassle of going over,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
they have a pickup service. So we can link down the links and whatever,
Yeah,
the
great.
information, contact information for whoever wants to check them out. So they will come and pick your documents, and you'll sign a receipt, and you'll have your
Mm-hmm.
reference number and everything. And like they're very approachable. You can check in with them about the status, like
Right.
how many days it's going to take. They'll give you a tentative time, like by the when you're supposed to get it back. But again, like in countries like India, you never know when a strike or a public
Yeah,
holiday is
yeah.
gonna fall. So, like I said, it's tentative, but they do everything from their side perfectly. And you can always check in with them when you're going to get it back, and they will give you a clear quote and statement of the prices prior to you
Right.
handing over the documents, and it's completely safe. And I had a really, like, because of that, I had no worries about my
Mm-hmm.
decision. It was done on time. Everything was
Can you recall what was the timeline that it took for the attestation to be done?
I think of 7 to 10 days. I think I got it within
Okay.
7 days.
Was that like a premier, like a fast track service, or was this like an ordinary kind of a timeline?
It was an ordinary timeline. They
Okay.
do it this fast, and
It's pretty fast,
like I
yeah.
mentioned, fortunately, nothing crazy was happening back home in our
Mm-hmm.
country,
Yeah.
so
It got done
it
fairly
got done.
fast.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. What about equivalency? Like, is it still being done? Are you still asked to do it?
Right. So equivalency, I spoke to a lot of agencies, and they don't do it as the package. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they do it is, they do the equivalent. They do the
Attestations.
yeah, they do the first three steps of the attestations, and the equivalency is left to you. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
are supposed to contact your university and do it. So equivalency was a requirement for EHS.
So
Okay.
DHA is not asking for it at this
DHA
point.
and DOH were lenient in that. They just they would ask you after recruitment. This was the thing until last year,
Mm.
but
Okay.
EHS wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this was a little bit tedious because this was the only thing that I did by myself. I
Okay.
went to the embassy, the Indian embassy in Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
and again, like, it's all the same. You get your documents, you give it to the person there, you will submit your
Right.
photographs and everything. You will get a receipt with a reference number. So this is being sent to your university.
Mm-hmm.
And they will give you a certificate stating that so and so completed graduation in so and so university in so and so year, and it's just a form basically.
Right. Okay.
So for me, it took, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, again because of my
Mm-hmm.
university. I
Mm-hmm.
know people who've got it like within 2 3 days.
Yeah, a
So
couple of
this will
days.
differ from university to university.
Face to face,
Uh,
definitely.
so I had to again mail them back and forth, call them. There was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mess, but it did happen. Eventually, it came through. And now that I'm recruited, like, I work in Tawam Hospital, Alain, under
Mm-hmm.
DOH. After I'm recruited, like during my probation period, my department asked for it.
Mm.
So
Okay.
DOH, they didn't ask it like beforehand. They did not want it like before. Once I'm employed, they asked me for it. Like, we are
Yeah, ask for it.
requesting you
Yeah.
to submit your equivalency certificate.
Yeah. I
So
think it's also safer like to just get it done as
get
well.
it done. Exactly.
Yeah, get all of these things. If you're very, very serious about getting in, then I really recommend getting it done because there's nothing more heartbreaking and more stressful than like coming all this way and then knowing like just because of a small document issue or an attestation delay, then you've been denied your seat or like something that they offered you has been taken away.
Yeah.
And this is like a big panic that I also had during my, and I remember this very clearly because again, like I went through a lot having coming here with like not much guidance, and I figured like almost everything out by myself. And then once equivalency, from what I recall, was not a requirement for me before getting accepted. So
Hmm.
I remember like once I got accepted, or just around the time I got accepted, I did like submit it for equivalency. And like you mentioned, the attestation services don't do this. The process itself is fairly simple. I think you just need to like upload the
Yeah.
document on the Ministry of Education website and pay the fee, and then it just gets it's hassle free in terms of the application process. But all I know is like I initially got a rejection for my equivalency application, and then the document, the whole thing comes in Arabic, right? So it's like you don't know what's written, you don't know, like unless you are fluent in reading Arabic, you don't know what exactly they have mentioned. So
Hmm.
all I understood was that it says rejected. And well, that's enough for you for to set
Yeah.
panic.
Among all of the things that happen, this is
Exactly.
enough.
And that this was like after acceptance. So I got accepted and everything is done. And then I think I had traveled to Dubai. And then at that time, I got this thing that it got done rejected. And then DHA people at that time were really like very chill about it. They were like, "Oh, it's okay, you just need to submit it." But obviously, they'll give you like a like a timeline, like, "Okay, fine, you just have to submit it within 2 months or 3 months." But then when something gets rejected and you don't know, like, is it going to get fixed? How do I fix it? Especially like in a place like Dubai where you don't have, the language is an issue with government, and then the when you go there, you're not very sure who to go to, what to go.
Yeah.
So if you face something like that before getting accepted, then at least you have the peace of mind to fix it. But once you get accepted, or once you are in that process and you have a very tight deadline ahead, it's going to be very, very like difficult, to go through all of these challenges. So if you're very, very serious about DRTP, I know a lot of the processes are very expensive, and it's like, yeah, it is definitely a lot of money, but it's like money, at least it's better to spend the money and then know then and
Yeah,
feel safe. Yeah,
regret. I mean,
exactly. Then,
uh,
because ultimately, like, you'll feel worse about if it gets taken away than if you spend the money earlier ahead. So I would
exactly.
really recommend just getting done.
Like, the risk and benefits. That's why, like, I was really happy with DOH for mentioning the correct cutoff guidelines. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
as
exactly.
bad as that might seem, people who cannot apply need not go ahead with that kind of
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Speaking of which, all of the each application for each health authority costs like 650 dirhams
Hmm.
plus.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
was all of the health
So it is
authority.
quite expensive. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
What about the English proficiency exam? So IELTS or
Yeah.
OET?
So, for me, I think I mentioned this in the last thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I gave my IELTS right after I got my EMREE result.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you have options to choose from OET and IELTS. For some reason, I heard that IELTS is a safer bet. It's a safer
Mm-hmm.
option. It's more standard. Because when you're in that time when you're applying, a lot of rumors and talks goes around. Many of which are true, many of which are not. But this
Yeah.
was one of the things I heard, and like I said at that time, I was not ready to take any risks, so I just went
Mm-hmm.
ahead with IELTS.
Mm-hmm.
Again, IELTS has got two types. I think there is one professional and academic. We are supposed to
Yeah.
choose the academic option, okay? Because
Right. Yes.
the residency is still like education.
Yeah.
So you will choose the IELTS academic. I chose IELTS academic, and in Dubai, it's really easy. Like, you have both options. There is a manual, like, on paper option, and
Mm-hmm.
an option for
Computer option. Right.
computer option, exactly, online.
Mm-hmm.
So the advantage with online is that it's faster. You get your results faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to fast track everything that time, so I
Yeah.
went for the
The
computer
online
option,
one.
which is a
Mm-hmm.
little more expensive. Yeah, online option, which is a little more expensive than the written version. And
Mm-hmm.
dates here are also, like, in Dubai, it's, I think in UAE it's really easy to get. In
Mm-hmm.
India, in Kerala, I'm not really sure. I
Mm-hmm.
did have friends who have some difficulties getting dates
Mm.
and things like
Okay.
that. But try to find a center, book as soon as possible.
Right.
And so I gave my IELTS after giving EMREE, and because I gave the on computer option, I got my result within 7 working days.
Okay. Great.
For
And
the
the IELTS is also a requirement for the application, right? Like it needs to be done when you're applying.
Yes, you need to have a score of, I think, a band score of 6 or above, I believe, was the cutoff
Mm-hmm.
last year.
Okay.
So you have, and for OET, it's different. I remember
Mm-hmm.
the IELTS, it was greater than or equal to 6, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have your IELTS, the result with you as well.
Right.
I
Yeah.
personally did my schooling in UAE. I just went back
Yeah.
home for my MBBS,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still required out of me. So
Okay. Okay. The point about IELTS that I have to add is I gave my IELTS when I was finishing my internship. So at that time, obviously, I had already like decided that I want to go into this the residency in Dubai, and I knew like IELTS was a requirement. So I gave it way ahead. And it's one of those things you can just get out of the way. It takes like, I mean, if you are very comfortable and confident with your English, it really doesn't take much preparation from what I feel. Maybe like,
exactly.
you might have certain weak links, like maybe your speaking is not great, or maybe your reading is not great, or maybe your
Yeah.
writing is not great. So just
Just
focus on the thing
focus
that
on.
you feel is, yeah, is not like the thing, and then it's pretty fairly easy to just get first done out of the way, because the result is valid for 2 years,
Hmm.
and you can apply it, like even if you're very serious, you can even do it maybe in like in the end of your final year or after your final year
Yeah.
exam, just like have it out of the way
Have it
so
out
that
of
it doesn't bother you, yeah, going forward. Other than that, why I like would recommend doing it in India is because I think it's much cheaper in India,
people.
because
Yeah.
recently I have had to look for the IELTS because I didn't need it for the GMC registration and everything. So when I looked into it, I compared, and then I found that like it's almost like half the price if you do it in India.
Yeah.
So
So
it's,
I'll give you my price breakdown. For the online version in Dubai, it cost me 1,075 dirhams. That's VAT included.
yeah.
Pretty pricey.
So I don't remember it exactly, but I remember when I checked, it was like almost like a 50% difference between again, like getting dates and all of these things might be challenging. So if you are here and you don't have an option to like, get it done from there, if you're in a short of time or anything, then obviously like, get what's more time friendly, better for you. But if you have an option and if you're planning way ahead, which is always recommended, get it done in India because it's cheaper. At least, because again, like we keep mentioning, the whole process is expensive. So try to save money wherever you can, because you don't want to like, have like to spend a whole bunch of money, and then like, when in the end, when you sit and you calculate, you're gonna feel like, how much money did
Yeah.
I spend
It
on this?
comes out to a lot. Yes.
Yeah. So try to save like wherever you can, So be smart about all of these things, and then plan way ahead so that you can at least get some, discounts, or some, not discounts, some savings here and there. So that'll definitely be beneficial. Okay, so I think we've gone through like almost the entire process of application with the certificates and the ECE, and I think all of the steps have been very, very clearly and detailedly explained in along with like, the tips and tricks that you all can use to make the process as stress free as possible. In summary, I think all we have to say for the process is do everything much earlier than later, and second thing is try to like plan way ahead so that you can save money wherever you can, because the whole thing is expensive. And of course, the third thing is for people who are like still in their medical school or college, like work hard, keep working hard, because GPA is something that you cannot change later on in the future. So if you can like build it from the beginning, then that's going to be best for you. And of course, like, all the other things are there, like building your CV, and then adding your researches, and then your courses, and making your CV strong, getting letters of recommendation. All of those things are always there for any CV and anything. But definitely, like, these would be the take home messages for the whole thing, would be, I guess, summarized. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Like you mentioned, like give it your best, so that you
Mm-hmm.
have no regrets. It is very stressful, time consuming,
Yeah.
it takes money, but do whatever you can, go the extra mile, try to fast track things if that might help you. And that is, yeah, that's it, I think.
Yeah. So the last time when we tried to do this live session, and then it, like, we had like all of those glitches, I had put up a
Hmm.
question box, and then there were a few questions that came along. I think a lot of the questions, or at least most of them, we have just mentioned here. I'll just like go through some things that maybe we haven't touched on yet, or like some things that people have asked, just because I put it out there, and then like I just want to clarify.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
So one of the questions was about the CV. Like, what are the tips to improve CV? I think I think I had talked about this very detailedly in my last video, about improving
Hmm.
CV and what's there. And I think you'll find it on my Instagram page. So we're not gonna like keep going back and forth on the same thing over again. The whole point of all these video sessions is to know where to find the information. So for whoever's looking for information on the CV, there's a solo video of mine on my Instagram page that I've talked very detailedly about CV. So I guess you guys can go through that. The other thing is the data flow. In the data flow for MOE, an ICA report or bachelor immigration certificate is required. So do you have any idea about that?
I'm sorry, I do not get that.
They've somebody has mentioned that in the data flow for MOE, an ICA report or a bachelor immigration certificate is required. Do we have any information about that?
I'm not sure. This is the first
Okay.
time I'm hearing ICA and Bachelor of Immigration.
Yeah, even
So
I have not heard it. That's why I just wanted to check if it was something new. If that's the case, just make sure that you're in the right data flow. Maybe you're in a different data flow that's required for a
maybe.
GP process. So
And
just
for EHS, you can, like I mentioned, you can get by with the DHA one because that's
yeah.
gonna be helpful for DHA and EHS. You
Mhm.
cannot do EHS data flow or MOH data flow, and
Mhm.
it won't work for the Dubai one.
Right.
So best one would be to go for the Dubai data flow and use it for both.
Right. Okay. The attestations we have talked about, the data flow we have talked about. These are the usual questions.
Yeah.
The GPA and all of these things we
Mm.
have really touched on. Again, there's one question: are we supposed to give a licensing exam in order to apply for residency or only EMREE? A licensing exam is not a requirement. You don't need to have a
Yeah.
license in your home country or from wherever you
Yeah.
graduated. It's not a document that's asked. It's always good to have all of these things because having a license means that some authority has deemed you fit to practice. So it's a
Yeah.
supporting document. It's always great to have attach it to your CV, but again, it's not a requirement. So don't
Yeah.
don't panic about that. Definitely.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, is applying with a low EMREE score okay? Also, we tackled in terms of the cutoff. Do
Mm.
you have any additional information that they can provide for those who have a low EMREE score?
Um. So the thing is, Emory pass cutoff also varies every year. It
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's 55%, sometimes it's 65%, and most times for FMGs, okay, whatever I'm speaking is
Right.
pertaining to FMGs. Just the pass cutoff, unfortunately, is not enough because um, you know how it is.
Yeah.
The priorities work differently, and FMGs, unfortunately, are the last ones on the priority to be given residency seat. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you probably need to stand out in one way or the other.
Definitely.
This is not meant to be discouraging. It's just like the facts. So if you're trying to apply with, there is no like yes or no answer for this.
Exactly.
Obviously you're eligible to apply with the pass score, but like I mentioned, your chances of getting selected will increase when your marks increase.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So that is to just,
Another
yeah.
follow-up question on that is if you are aware of the cutoff score during your year or the previous year for the EMREE exam, which was taken for EHS or DHA.
Yeah, so for my year, the cutoff was 65%, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean the Emory cutoff?
Yeah, EMREE
Yeah,
cutoff.
okay. Yeah, so the Emory cutoff, okay. So the Emory pass percent, like the what determines if you've passed Emory or not is a separate cutoff, and
Yeah.
for health authorities, there is a different
Yeah,
cutoff.
exactly.
So the year that I applied, I believe the pass cutoff was 55%, and
Okay.
the year before that, it was 65%.
This is
So
the pass percentage. So if you get
this
55,
is
then
the
you that means you have passed the MBA exam, not
pass.
that you
Yeah.
are qualified to get accepted.
No, you're
Okay.
qualified to apply, but
To
acceptance
apply. Yeah,
limited. Exactly.
exactly.
Now, for MD cutoff, the only authority which has mentioned it like on your face is DOH.
Right. And
This
what
is
was
what
that
I do.
number?
Yeah, and that number for my year was 75%.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
that's like a huge jump from the pass percent. So
Yeah.
imagine you need 55 to pass and you need 75 to qualify to apply to
Apply itself.
DOH.
Okay.
So you understand
Hmm.
the like a big
It's a
20% is
big
a
jump.
lot.
Yeah.
Big jump. So this was mentioned only for DOH. The other has not explicitly like mentioned like we need this. So
Hmm.
DOH needs this for your application to even go through.
Yeah. For the Dubai programs itself, I don't think they mention it in the application. Apparently they still
Yeah.
don't. They never used to. They're very vague about it. I believe one of the reasons they are so vague about it is because, well, they don't want to discourage anyone from applying. They want to know what's out there to see like what's the pool like, and then they decide what cutoff they want. So ultimately, the program is trying to select a number of candidates to go through with a certain cutoff, which they will decide seeing the the level of marks in that particular year. So that's kind of one of the reasons why they don't apply. Again, once you it's very, it's very frustrating because you apply and you don't know, have you met the cutoff, have you not, are you going to get
Yeah.
called, are you not going to get called. So again, the only thing that's to be done is to, target for as high a score as possible. So study hard for your MBRU exams, and work diligently and work smartly to get a good score. And then so I have actually given the MBRU exam twice, like 2 years. Once was during my internship, and one was just after, because I was trying to not waste too much time. During the exam during my internship year, I remember like I had gotten like around 88. Back then the exam was completely different, so don't get like completely mesmerized by my scores, because back then high scores were like a thing of norm. So I had gotten like around 81%, if I or 80%, if I don't if I'm not mistaken. And then the cutoff was 82 that year. And why I got to know the cutoff is because they sent me a rejection email. Said that, oh, we're sorry, we're not accepting you because the cutoff for this year is 82. So I think the only way, maybe like somebody who has not gotten accepted this year probably has received a similar email if they're still doing the same format of the email when they mention the cutoff. But other than that, there is really no way of knowing if you've like made cutoff or no, until like they decide what the cutoff is going to be. So all
But
you
I
can do
think
is target a high score.
Yeah, but I think, like Marish, like now that has changed because now they've
Hmm.
apparently, and I say apparent because maybe things are not actually, happening like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They've put it like it's called score rubrics. So they, like I mentioned, 40% of
Mm-hmm.
your GPA, forty
Mm-hmm.
percent of your MRE scores,
Right.
and 20% of your CV. All of this is like put out there so that
Yeah.
people know, and from that you get a score that is calculated
Mm-hmm.
taking into your percentage and percentile calculate, so you will still have like a fair idea,
Yeah, you
like
will have
okay,
a
where
fair
am I
assessment.
going with
Okay.
this. It's not like totally blind,
Yeah.
but it's not like, it's still a little vague. It's not as like cut off as
Mm-hmm.
DOH as well. So this is the thing.
Mm. Does a
Mm.
similar rubric breakdown exist for the Abu Dhabi pathway as well, or have they not clearly mentioned it?
No, there's no rubric because they've mentioned the clear cutoff. So
Okay.
it's you get your college percentage has to be greater than 80, or GPA greater than 3, and MRE greater than
But
75,
they've
and
just
that's it.
mentioned the cutoff. They've not said that, oh, GPA holds more value or MRE holds more value. Like, for example,
No,
yeah, okay.
no,
Okay.
exactly. They've
Mm-hmm.
not told about the weightage of each. It's
Mm-hmm.
just this, and then you go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Other things that they have asked is, well, about the data flow we talked about, the ECE report we talked about, and then they've also
Ah,
asked about,
Mehrish,
yeah.
one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were talking about Emory, I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
no, of
Just
course.
the because you mentioned you gave Emory in consequent years. I think
Mm,
from
this is
the
a
year that
question.
I was applying or before that,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Emory result that you get. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you can reattempt Emory only if you failed. Otherwise,
Yeah.
the Emory result you have is valid for 2 years, which means you
Mm.
cannot give another attempt.
Next
You
year,
cannot
even.
retake it, not even next year. It is
Oh,
valid for 2 years.
yeah.
So this is a new thing. I'm not sure if it started last year, but it's been there like since the time that I was. So imagine
Mm-hmm.
now the percentage pass cutoff is 55, and you've passed, you've got 57, but you're like, I want to improve my score. No,
Mm.
it's either you have to pass with really good score or you fail,
And then you
because
reattempt. Yeah.
yeah, and you reattempt.
Mm.
And even reattempting has an issue because each time you reattempt, that affects the score
Yeah.
rubrics in
Yeah.
MBRU.
It
Like
does.
I said, it's very competitive and gets more competitive every year, unfortunately. So right now the MRE result that you have is valid for 2 years, and you cannot retake it
For
unless you
the
fail
Yeah, actually,
to
that's
improve
a
your
very
score.
good point to clarify, because this is like a thing, because again, these things keep changing. They're very, very what do you say,
Very
updated quite
dynamic.
frequently. Yeah, I think they, because again, as you just mentioned, the competition is like insane. It's sky high. So every year they make like one more step of challenges to, like to make
Especially
it
for
only the
FMGs.
cream of the cream come through. So and of course, as any, and I keep saying this, as any program does, they always prefer the local graduates because they are their own, and there is no blame game there, because I mean, obviously you will
Yeah,
have
exactly.
more, like you need to support your homegrown candidates before
It's
you
their
offer
country.
seats. Yeah, exactly. So the
Exactly. It's only
only
fair.
the only reason why they would accept somebody who is not their own from an outside and take a chance on you is if they have no choice but to take a chance on you because you have
Yeah. Or
outshined their
you are
candidates.
outstanding in one term or
Exactly.
the other.
Yeah, so you have like outshined their candidates in every step of the way, and they have no choice but to like, they cannot say no to you. It's the only way to get accepted. And that's
Yeah.
like one thing I keep stressing. So people say like, oh, can I apply? Will I have a chance with the low MMI score? Will I have a chance with the bad CV? So yes, you have a chance throughout, but your chances are going to exponentially grow if each of your steps are great, and never rest on having like a great previous step score. Like, so let's say your GPA is great. Don't think, I don't need to have great MRE. Let's say your MRE is
Yeah.
great. Don't think you don't need to perform well in your MMI. Let's say your MMI is great. Again, don't think your panel interview is going to be a piece of cake. No, every step is as important as the last one, and you must, like I said, be outstanding in each one of them to be considered over their own um,
Exactly.
uh, crowd for sure. 100%.
Yeah, until you get the acceptance mail, it's not over. And in
Yeah.
your case, even after you got the acceptance mail, apparently it's not over.
Yeah.
So, like, don't rest. Like, like, I know you're so tired. Like, I've been there, but just do it. Just give it your all. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. One more last question that I will answer is, they have asked about the MMI preparation. I have put up a few stories about the MMI preparation. They're there
Yeah.
in the highlights of my page. And also, there is a link to, I think maybe it's gone way far down. So I'll just mention it again. So when I was preparing for the MMI, I used BMO. That's BEMO. So they are
Hmm.
a group that offers MMI courses and mock sessions, and they're like very, very adept in providing these resources and then giving you sessions. So that's what I did, like use their resources, of course, and then I bought their
Hmm.
book. But I had also
Hmm.
given a mock session MMI before, and I feel like
Hmm.
that really helped me gain confidence in knowing what I'm going to
Hmm.
face, because I was this
Hmm.
whole concept was very new to me. So it's
Yep.
always good to go in prepared. So I had
Yep.
used BMO. Did you use anything for your MMI prep, any services or any books or specific that you want to mention here?
Yeah, like very nice bringing up this MMI
Mm-hmm.
because I think especially for us Keralites out there and maybe even Indians in general, we are very new to this
Yeah.
MMI concept.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember I ran to Meharish as always. I was like, "What is this MMI? What do?" And she told me about BMO, but I did not because to be honest, it was because of all of the expenses that was adding
Yeah.
up. I did not
Mm-hmm.
subscribe. What I did instead was so the trick to MMI is that they're not actually testing your medical knowledge. They're
Exactly.
testing if you know how to really. It's literally like if you know how to speak and hold your ground. So imagine most of the questions are not black or white. this
Yes.
this is a point from you actually, and it is
Yeah.
so true. I've never forgotten it. What Marish told me was that it's not black or white, it's all gray. So they will ask you something, and how well you do depends on how you can justify what you said.
Yes.
So uh, imagine there are two candidates and they say the completely opposite answers, but imagine that they can justify it. Obviously, it should not be like blatantly wrong to a
Mm-hmm.
point where it makes no sense. But
Exactly.
imagine there are a lot of ethical questions, which has gray areas, and you say something, you speak well, and you're able to stand your ground and justify that will make you really shine in your MMI. So,
Mm-hmm.
like Marish mentioned, what helps the most during MMI is to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had a friend, Sidra. We practiced with each other.
Yeah.
She was in Saudi and I was in UAE, and we used to be on call. We used to practice scenarios with each
Mm-hmm.
other, and really talking helps. And the
Exactly.
times when we were not with each other, we would do it in front of mirrors. I would do it
Mm-hmm.
with my parents.
Yeah.
So it's literally I would do it. So it's like constantly practicing speaking. And to get an idea of MMI, one is like Marish mentioned, the BMO app, the BMO thingy. And the other thing is there are these PDFs that are circulating in the group. When I was there,
Mm-hmm.
there were these PDFs of MMIs.
Right.
In that, there are scenarios which will give you an idea about, this is the kind of things that they're gonna ask, like ethical
Yeah.
questions. And some of them are like standard. They will ask
Mm-hmm.
this. So
Mm-hmm.
suppose there is some child abuse question,
Mm-hmm.
some things you have to know about the UA ethical laws. So
Right.
things like that will help. These are more specific, and maybe we can like do a proper session on MMIs and stuff once it begins.
Yeah, yeah,
Just to give an
definitely.
outline, MMIs are basically testing your speaking and how well you can, justify and make
Yeah.
sense, basically.
So we'll
Yeah.
bring up like MMI in detail, especially for
Yeah.
our Kerala candidates who are like very
Yeah.
far into this whole concept
We
of
can do it.
yeah, soft skills and communication and all of these
Yeah.
things. So that will be leave for another day. But just for those who are at a time crunch, this is the resource that there are a lot of free stuff out there. Just so you're aware, you
Yeah,
don't really
even on
have to.
YouTube, by the way, you can
Yeah,
just search MMIs and so many role playing scenarios, so many
exactly.
playlists come out. So you can
Yeah.
just go.
So there's a lot of free resources, a lot of mock questions with great answers freely available on Google. So just Google MI questions and you'll get a lot of PDFs and again a lot of
Yes.
YouTube videos. But then if you're really looking for like courses and a proper session, then you can always go to BMO. And again, even if you don't want to apply or for the BMO course, again it is not a cheap thing as well. But if you are not willing to or no don't want to spend that money, the book, the BMO's MMI book is also available on Amazon. I think they have both a PDF Kindle version, a PDF
Oh,
version, like an ebook version, and a physical version as well. So you can just
okay.
like get that. That's not a very expensive thing. You can always get that and go through it. It gives you a lot of tips and tricks on like how what's the point of the MMI and what's in the mind of the examiner and all of
Mhm.
these like really great things are there in the book. So that's also worth a read for anybody who's looking for information. But again, we'll have like a much more detailed
Yeah.
session
Yeah.
maybe going forward. We'll have that.
Yeah.
So okay, I think we finally managed to pull this session off. So we've been having so many challenges in terms of emergency on calls popping up and then
Oh
live
my
session
god.
issues and
Technical
app issues
errors.
and hailstorms and thunders.
Oh
Every
my
time me and
god.
Mariam schedule this, like the universe says, no, not today. It's
Not
not your
now.
time. So
Mm.
today, finally, we were like, let's just do it. And honestly, this was not even supposed to be a live session, right? We just thought like we'll record it and then the
Yeah, it was
recording
supposed
app
to be
started
something
failing.
else, but this happened. But like
Yeah.
you say, such is life. So
Exactly. And the recording app just like for some reason started failing and glitching and everything. So we're like, you know what? Let's just do what we can and then go live.
yeah.
So
Mm.
I we hope that like this, is we know it's delayed, but we still hope that it can help and
Yeah, and
then
it's
clarify a lot
helpful.
of
Exactly,
questions.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so again, thanks a lot, Mariam. I'll
Thank you
add
so
this
much,
whole thing
Mary.
into the Mariam series, and we'll have you again, inshallah, soon to discuss more
Definitely.
things and
Hopefully,
to
the
answer more
MMI thing we
questions.
can. Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah, talk in detail about pretty soon. So keep a lookout on my page.
Yeah.
I think from now on we'll probably not be going Instagram live anymore because Instagram
Mm-hmm.
live has like been failing us repeatedly for a
Mm-hmm.
couple of times now. So most of the live sessions will now probably happen on YouTube. And
Yeah.
then again, I'll try to always save the recorded sessions on YouTube. So I'll link all the stuff on my Instagram page so you guys have access to it. I know my YouTube channel is not as followed as Instagram. So, now start following YouTube because that's the
Yeah.
only way you're going to get access
Way
to
we
these
can.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So thanks a lot, Mariam.
Thank you so much,
We'll see you
Marish.
next
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Take
Right.
care. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.